Welcome everybody. We're starting to have a look at the course schedule. Right now, if you look at this, we are on the what if analysis and solver add-ins. That is what we're going to cover next. So I'm going to show you a video, and this will essentially cover the entire module, and you can send us some comments and we will then answer as soon as we've finished the video. So without further ado, here's the video. We're starting with the next module using what if analysis and solver add-in. This module we'll look at the what if analysis function as well as the solver add-in function. Although solver is not strictly part of the what if analysis package, we will address it here because it addresses similar functionality. I decided to cover it therefore in the same module. So the first option that we are going to look at is the goal seek, which is part of the what if analysis. Now please open for me the what if analysis spreadsheet on sheet 1. So when you open it, you will see at the bottom sheet 1, and you will see the goal seek example, a little table that has been pre-prepared for you. The goal seek function applies to a cell that contains a formula. If there's no formula in, you cannot set a goal. The function is used to plan different outcomes based on changing variable values. So in this example, I'll show you now. We have a revenue which is calculated, and we are going to set a target revenue, and we're going to allow it to change the number of units to hit the target revenue. So click on the data tab for me, please. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so that you can see it. The data tab there, and then you move over on the right hand side to what if analysis, and you click on goal seek. The goal seek menu appears. You will see there's a little field there. Goal seek, you select the set cell. The set cell you will click on, so you click on set cell and then you click on revenue total, which is in cell B5. And you'll see B5 appearing in the set cell. Then you go and you click on to value and you type in the amount, 100,000. 100,000 in the to value field. Then you you click on by changing cell. This is in cell B2, and once you've done that, you can click OK. What you'll see now is once you've clicked OK and you move your cursor off, you will see the values are going to change. So it increased the number of units from 500 to 40,000. If you want to retain these values, if you're happy with your calculation, you can now press OK, or you can cancel. If you cancel, it will revert to your previous values. The choice is yours. And that covers the goal seeker. So we are now going to move on to the scenario manager. If you have any questions before we go on, you can put your questions in the comments. I will receive it And then before we start the next module, I will first answer all your questions that I've received. So you remain on the what-if analysis spreadsheet, but you select sheet 2 now. So at the bottom of the sheet, you click on sheet 2. The scenario manager allows you to set up different scenarios with different outcomes. You use this when you need to work on different outcomes based on different variable values. So we are going to click on the data tab again, and then again on the what if analysis, and then the first option, scenario manager. Click on that and the scenario manager screen will pop up. And what you're going to see is that there are no scenarios defined. So we need to add some scenarios. So you will click on add, and then the edit scenario screen will come up. So now you click on the scenario name and you type in scenario 1. Once you've done that, click on changing cells. Then the cells that we want to change here are cells B6 through B7. So the moment you click on changing cells, you will click on cell B6, hold your cursor in and drag it down to B7, and at the same time you will see in that little edit scenario changing cells pop up how the references are popping up there, and when you release your mouse it will jump back to your first screen and your changing cells will appear there. So now the changing cells are now in there, and all you have to do now is click OK, and scenario 1 will be created. But it's not finished yet, so it requests you to enter the values for each of the changing cells. So you've marked those two cells, B6 and B7, and their values are there now, 200 and 300. So what you're going to do now is you're going to leave those values in, because we are going to create a scenario that we can come back with, scenario 1. And you click on add. So when you say add, it will take you back to the scenario, edit scenario screen. And you will enter scenario 2. You will leave the changing cells as is, because the scenario will apply on the same cells, and you'll click on OK, and this time when the two cells appear there, you'll change their values, the 200 to 400 and the second one, the 300 to 350. And this time you can click on OK, and the scenario manager will come back and it will show you the two scenarios. So the second scenario that you just completed, scenario 2, is now highlighted. If you click on show, you will see the values change. The 400 and the 350 that you entered will now appear in the price, and all the other values will be changed to reflect the new scenario. You can now proceed and click on scenario 1 and show, and you will revert to your previous values. And notice the difference between the values every time. And this is your scenario manager. So now the following function that we are looking at is an add-in function, the solver. And this one is a little bit more complex. So we may still have to activate it on your computer because it is not always activated. So we stay on sheet 2 on your open spreadsheet. And our first step here will now be to see if the solver function has been activated. So on the data tab on sheet 2, you will go and look there on the right hand side if you see the solver there. You will most probably not see it, so don't despair. So now you go at the top of your screen, you'll see a search box, and there you type in add-ins. What you'll see is a little gear and add-ins, and you'll click on that, and the add-ins pop-up will appear. So now you click on the last one. If it's the last one on yours, it may be different because it depends on what add-ons are installed on your computer. So you click on the solver add-in and OK. And when you go back to the ribbon and you look on the right hand side, the solver will appear now. So remember, we're on the data tab and we look on the right hand side, and there you will see the solver now. So now you click on the solver, and what will happen is the solver pop-up will appear. Now in this case, what we're going to do is we are going to click on the set objective. Now for the example that we're doing, the set objective is the profit total. And we want to maximize that, so we click on max. Now we say by changing variable cells. So the variable cells that we want to change are the product A and B sales, so the prices. So we click on by changing variable cells, and as you have now learned, you will click and hold from item from B6 to B7 and then release, and you will see the variable cells appearing there. Now we want to add two constraints. The constraints that we want to add is, firstly, we want the sale quantity on product A, we want to reduce to less than or equal to 125. Reason for that, in our example, is we have a manufacturing constraint, so we don't have enough product to sell. We will also add a second constraint, and that is we want our revenue to be bigger or equal to 125,000 Rand. So as you can see there at the moment, we have 240 units and we have 87,492. So how are we doing that? We are going to click on add because we want to add these constraints. So the first constraint will be on cell reference C6. So we click on cell reference and we click on C6. Then we will click on the operator there, and that must be less than or equal. So we click on that little drop down and we select less than or equal, and then we will physically capture the amount 125, and then we will say add because we want to add a second constraint. The second constraint is now, if we click on the cell reference, we also click on the total revenue, and then we click on bigger or equal, and we type in the amount 125,000, 125,000. So now we've added our second constraint, and we'll click on OK. And this will take us back to this screen where we will see all our constraints are now there. And all we need to do now is to click on solve. So when we click on solve, just passing this, oh, lo and behold, we've got an error here. Solver cannot solve this solution because one of our two constraints is now causing a situation where the conditions cannot be satisfied for both. So I think the problem is that we've reduced the quantity on sales and we have asked this thing to give us more than 100,000 Rand revenue. So what we'll do is we'll go back to our constraints and on the solver parameters we will click change and then we will go to the second one and we will change that to 100,000. And if we now say solve, what we see is that it comes through successfully. It's now solved our solution for us. It's given us maximum profit. It's given us 100,000, just over 100,000 revenue, and the sales have been reduced to 125. And that is the solver. And this is also the conclusion of our tutorial. So now we will carry on with the next, and this brings us